Welcome to the Life Activated Podcast. I'm your host, Mari Roberts, and this podcast is intended to empower you to live your passions right here, right now, encouraging you to be uniquely, magically you, trusting yourself, your intuition, that inner GPS that exists within all of us. And the intention is that it is a catalyst to get you out of the sidelines of your own life, because let's face it, I know you're here to do big things, and being on the sidelines means nothing is happening, and we can't have that. So I hope that every episode inspires you to step fully into your passions, what you are here to do every single day. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Life Activated Podcast. Today is a special day. Today on the podcast, we get to hear from the one and only, the most amazing person in my life right now who ensures that Life Activated actually goes out and is produced and doesn't sound like total butt crack, because if I was doing it, it would. Today we get to hear from my amazing producer, goddess of all things podcast, who helped me figure out what the heck I was doing, who ensured that I didn't stress out over stupid things. We get to meet the beautiful Jillian. And with that, I'm going to actually hand it over to you, have you introduce yourself. Don't forget to share all of the indicators that help people know who you are. And then we're going to dive in.
Well, thank you for that amazing introduction. And you are a dream client. I love working with you. I love your voice messages that I get where you're just trying to work through your thoughts. I'm like, I'm just going to listen. Like, she doesn't even need me, really. She's just working through her thoughts.
So true.
Yeah. So I am Jillian. I am the CEO of Jillian Grover Podcast Solutions, which we manage podcasts for women entrepreneurs. I live in upstate New York. I have 3 kids, a husband, an old Boston Bulldog. And I know you like the woo stuff too to put in here.
I do.
So yeah. I am an Aries sun, a Sagittarius moon, and a Leo rising. So I am straight fire, baby.
Ooh, and you and I both are Leo risings. Ooh, I love that. I love that. I know on your website you share your Enneagram. So will you share that too?
Yes, I am an Enneagram 1, which is the perfectionist, which I have been working on because I do know I have some control issues and some perfectionist tendencies, but my husband will admit they've gotten better over the years.
Yeah. But I also think that that is what makes you so good at what you do in terms of the podcast and supporting people with their podcasts. So it's part of just who you are, and it helps people like me. And yes, if you were a fly on the wall and we would listen to the Voxer messages I leave, sometimes I'm just rambling with a question that makes no sense that I just need to process. And Jillian's like, yep. That sounds good, Mari. You have the answer.
I always know by the end of the message, you're going to get to where you were going, like to the answer, and you got it all figured out.
So true. It's so true. But there's other things that you help me navigate that I wouldn't have known how to navigate with the podcast for sure. And if you're new to the show, you don't know that I still have a corporate job and I'm working on my business, and I wanted to do a podcast as another way to connect and sort of my way of also figuring out how I'm going to rebel and move away from social media and to share these stories. And me trying to figure out how to launch a podcast and do all those other things would have been so overwhelming. So to have someone like you who is so kind and gentle and generous and who doesn't get annoyed when I leave you my random voice messages, like, how do I do that thing on Canva? And P.S. I use Canva all the time, but for some reason, when it comes to the podcast and all of a sudden now I'm trying to add audio to it, I'm like, I don't know how to do this. I only know how to put pictures. Jillian's like so graceful and gracious. So, and educational in terms of like, hey, you don't need to do this, just do that. You help us, or I'm sure you do this for your other clients. You help them and me keep it simple and effective. So I think that's just something I want to call out that I think is great about you and your perfectionism.
Yeah, that's what I love about what I do, because you get to stay in your zone of genius and then give me stuff for my zone of genius, and we can just flow with it because, yeah, we're good at what we do.
Exactly. I love it. I love it. So before we dive into the questions, you know what I'm going to do. So this is so funny, giving you behind the scenes. Before any podcast interview, when I get on Zoom with whoever I'm talking to, I always give them just a reminder, lowdown of a couple things, reminding them to introduce themselves, reminding them to not forget to share anything that is an indicator. And again, I'll say it's from the woo side, but it may not be. It could be like, Myers-Briggs or whatever you use to identify and indicate more about who you are. And then I always remind people when we say goodbye, I'm actually not hanging up. Don't leave the Zoom call because I actually want to say goodbye to them properly. So I was like, oh, I don't need to tell Jillian all that stuff. She knows all that stuff. So as I'm going through what's going to happen next, Jillian knows everything that's going to happen because she produces the show. So I crack up at this whole process. But I'm going to share your card. We're sticking with the same thing. Again, I've said this before. It's probably going to be just the deck of the podcast unless something else comes up. But it's from Asia to Shore and Guided by Spirit Oracle deck. And your card is so beautiful. It's boundaries. I know it's hard to see, and I can send you a picture of it too.
Oh, it's really pretty colors.
Oh, so pretty. All right. So let me just sort of tap in and see what the message is. And for anyone who is listening, just know that this is a message for Jillian, but it's also for me. It's for you. It doesn't matter when you are listening, whether you're listening, when this episode airs, or if you're listening a week or a month or a year from now, it's still relevant. Okay. So even before I even gave that disclaimer, the first thing I heard was mind your boundaries. Where do you have leaks right now with your time, with your space? I heard she's not carving out enough time just for her, creating enough space just for yourself. Giving yourself time to read the book, take the bath, cook. It's the time for yourself. And then I just got like this image of journaling. Like, I don't know if you have a journaling practice or if you used to have one or if you've been thinking about doing something, but getting back into the practice for yourself and actually carving out that time for yourself. So more boundaries for your space, for yourself. Does that make sense?
Oh my gosh, yes. I have been putting in a little too much work lately, I will admit. I have an old chronic injury in my leg, and I ended up in the ER last week because of it, because I was sitting too long, not like giving myself any time, not taking care of myself. So I have actually started to put in a few more boundaries this week. So my health actually comes first.
Yes.
Because that is the most important thing, and making time for me, because I'm always giving to other people as in my business, as a mom, as a wife, we also own a coffee shop. I'm like, I have to give myself time now. So I have been rearranging my schedule and really like tapping into what feels good for me. Yes. So yes, this is like perfectly aligned with what, of course, I should have known.
Yeah, that's how it is. I know it sounds people anytime someone's on, it's like, oh my God, like this is exactly what's happening. I know.
Yes.
Well, it's so funny. And I just want you to know, if you're listening to the podcast, I literally shuffle the card deck right before the call and I pull the card out, and then I don't connect in to give the message until we're on here live. So there's no like planning of what's going to come out. It's just the card that comes out, and it always is in alignment. And the other thing is, to the boundaries piece, making sure that the people in your life know. So, even your kids and your husband, knowing that you need that 30 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is, that you're going to go and do whatever it is for your health. And it's not just the like physical health, right? It's that mental health and emotional health and just to decompress. And then I also just got this like image. So if you're not keeping your energy clean, like actually clearing your energetic space. So having a practice to clear your energetic space. So you can light a candle, you can, do some incense or something, or you can get like, I don't want to say sage because sage does get a little, it's really something we want to not use. And everyone sells it still, I know, but you could use something else. You can use like rosemary, lavender, mugwort to like clear your energetic field. And if you don't have any of that, you can just even set the intention and like use your hands. I'm just showing her with my hands. If you're not watching this, but you can like kind of do sort of like a cross with your hands and just like wash over your whole body to just cleanse your energetic space. But that's something that is important for you.
Yeah, I haven't done that in a while, actually. I have Palo Santo and I have like crystals and my oracle cards that have been untouched for probably months at this point because I have not been doing my practice that I used to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So definitely clearing your space. I do this at night and in the morning, but even at night, you can just do a practice. I literally just imagine white light surrounding me. And then I imagine like black tourmaline or black onyx. I mix it up surrounding me. And then I imagine liquid golden light being poured from the heavens, poured down around my whole auric field, cleansing and clearing my auric field. And then I imagine it also cleansing and clearing my chakras or energy centers, however you identify to that. And then grounding myself into the earth for like a good night's sleep. So even if it's just at night because your day's gotten ahead of you, giving yourself that few minutes in bed to do it. And full disclosure, sometimes I fall asleep. I fall asleep and I'll wake up to get up to go pee or, go get some water. Mm-hmm. And I'll be like, oh, I forgot. I fell asleep at this point and I'll finish the process.
That'd probably be me. I'm one of those annoying people who gets into bed and falls asleep within 2 seconds. My husband hates it. He's like, how do you do that?
I'm the same. I think I'm a generator. I don't know if you know your human design. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a generator too.
Yeah. So that's the thing, right? We've used all of our energy, which is great. So then when we go to sleep, we just pass out, right?
Yes.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's get into the questions.
Okay, let's go.
So how in the world did you get started podcasting and becoming a podcast manager with your business?
So in 2018, I joined my husband in his coffee shop that he owned. I worked at a hospital for 14 years before that. Hated it. They did not treat employees
not your
very
passion.
Nicely. Yeah, no. No. So when the opportunity came up, when he got the business, I'm like, let me come join you. Like, we can do this together. So we did that until 2020. We all know what happened in 2020.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So the pandemic hit and we couldn't get supplies. We didn't want to put our customers at risk. So we closed down and all of a sudden we were without an income.
Wow.
And, our kids like food and a roof over their head and stuff like that. They're so
crazy things, the basic needs of life,
they're so needy. I know.
The basics, security.
Yeah. So this woman who I had connected with on Instagram, we had been talking back and forth. I've taken a few of her master classes, was looking for a virtual assistant. And everything she was saying, I'm like, I could do that. I know some online stuff. I can figure this out. And she was willing to learn with me because I got to talking to her. So she hired me on. And she had a podcast and asked if I wanted to learn how to manage that. And I said, sure. So I took a class. Yeah. And I fell in love with it. Like, that's all I wanted to do for her. I didn't want to do all the other stuff. So I switched gears into just podcast managing. And it really took off. Like, I'm surprised how quickly my business grew. I mean, when you find what you're passionate about and it shows, my husband went his way with the coffee shop. I still help out, but I'm now full-time in my podcast management business.
And I think you said something really important there is when you are doing what you're passionate about, things start to happen, things start to flow. And again, this doesn't have to be about how you make money as a passion, because even if you're doing something you're passionate about and you're not trying to make money from it, other areas of your life do start to flow. So I think this is such a great reminder that, this haphazard way helped you uncover this huge passion, which was managing podcasts and being involved with podcasts. And now it's helping you to build a really successful business.
Yeah. And I just love helping women empower other women. Like that is what I really like. I think more women need voices out there in the world. So that's who I love to work with. So I love it. I love that I'm helping give them a voice and a platform to put it on.
I love that. It's so funny. So I don't even think I told you this, but I found you on Instagram and I was looking for people. And when I stumbled on you, it was just like, I love this person. And it was your presence and your energy. I could tell that you were kind. And then we had our clarity call or sales call. And it was just, I could tell you really make it easy for people, but you just really enjoy what you do. And for me, it was like, how can it be easy? And we working with someone who I could see working with in an easy way.
Yes. And I love that you use that word kind. I was just kind of going over like my brand values. I was doing one of those courses and like kindness is my number one thing. Like there is no reason to be rude to anybody. Like when people are out in the store or baristas or anything, like kindness is my number one thing. Everybody deserves kindness.
Yes.
So I just love that you said that word. That was your first thought of me. Like, thank you. That makes me feel really good that I'm at least projecting that out into the world.
Yeah, you are. And I want to work with people who I feel are going to be kind and you're going to be kind to me and you're kind with my dumbass boxer messages.
I love your boxer messages.
I love it. Okay. I'm cheating. I have to look at my notes because again, I'm just giving you all behind the scenes. I set up my little recording a little bit differently. So I have the laptop on a box and now I'm like, oh wait, I can't see my notes in the same way. I have to turn and look at them. Okay. So you sort of touched on this, but what keeps you going in terms of the business and doing this work?
Definitely helping women get their voices out there and helping them spread their message to more people. And I love learning new things. Like I feel like I'm learning every day about new techniques. There's new platforms all the time.
I know. So many new platforms. It's wild. I actually want to talk to you about like this one thing I found. I forget what it's called. It's like something that you plug into, I think, your phone or something. I don't know. I'll have to show it to you. And then I don't remember. And then there's some other platform that I just saw that is like you can do video and you're podcasting, but it's not like the big dogs of podcasts. So I'll send it to you. Yes, everyone.
Oh, yeah.
I'm having a side conversation in our podcast, but I think it's a great example of like, there is so much happening and yes, we can do podcasts on our own. And if that's something you love and you're passionate about, but it can be so overwhelming. So to have someone like you who can say, oh, that's not worth it, or, oh, that's cool. And, I'll go learn about it and use it to support my clients is so much better.
Yeah, I know. Like you brought up something to me the other day and I'm like, I have not heard of this.
Right.
I'm like, let me go learn about this.
Right. I don't even remember what I did. I don't even remember what it was.
I think it was the Spotify contest.
Oh, yeah. The Spotify contest. Yeah. There's a contest on Spotify. I actually don't even know if it's a contest. I think it's just like input your information and then Spotify can, decide if they want to highlight you as a podcaster, which I thought was really cool though. So I know that this work has like the technical element. How do you bring your creativity into the work?
Ooh, that's a good question. It is very technical. You have to learn like all the equipment and the platforms and stuff. But I think just having fun with it, like I try to make it as fun as possible. Like I mess up. We all mess up.
Yeah, because we're human.
Yes. And just owning up to it and being like learning from it. Yeah, I just feel like we can get very bogged down with, okay, I need to do this, instead of listening to, but does that feel good to me? Like I could do this, and this, but does that sound fun? Does that sound like something I even want to do?
Yeah.
So I think just trying to I try to keep it simple, like you said. So like with the new platforms and stuff, sometimes I'll try them out. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, that sounds really complicated. Like, let's go back to this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I tried one out the other day because I have a podcast. So I recorded on it and I downloaded it and there was no audio. It was just video. And I recorded a whole podcast and there was nothing, no sound. Even though my microphone was working, I tested it beforehand. I'm like, okay, this one I do not recommend. We will not be using this in the future.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, let's
And
just keep it simple.
I think that's a really great thing to remember is keeping it simple. I know that you are here to not just live an average life, but to live a deeply fulfilling life. And I can imagine you living your life just the way you want it, stepping into everything that you've imagined for yourself, for your family, that true sense of freedom and joy and leadership. And most importantly, the legacy that you are literally here to leave in this world. And that is why I created the Life Activated course. This is a course that takes you through a tried and tested 3-step method that is going to activate your life and step you fully into your purpose with ease. This is an 8-week journey where you are going to really connect with your true meaning so that you can ignite the purpose that is deep within your soul. I could not be more excited about supporting you in connecting to what you're here for, because honestly, this is this is why I'm here, to help you fully live life as it is intended. And my clients that have gone through the Life Activated course can attest to it. My client, Stephanie, she says that she was at a crossroads in her career. She was wanting to make big changes, but she needed support and spiritual uplift. She was amazed at the career opportunities that opened up for her. She was also amazed at how she moved from being stuck in her process for writing to moving forward in the direction of completing her book, which is huge. And that's all from this course, Life Activated. If you are wanting to be in a course that allows you to do everything on your own, self-paced, and yet still have the aspect of community, live support calls, and the opportunity to meet with me one-on-one, then this course is for you. There are group support sessions, there's energy healing, there is a breathwork session, there are visualizations, additional journal prompts and practices to support you in successfully taking the steps that you know you're here to take. I see you on the other side. I see you doing everything that you're here to do, that you've always dreamt of doing. And maybe you just needed that little hand to help hold you. Hand to help hold you. Anywho, the Life Activated course is for you if you are needing that support. There's going to be a link in the show notes for you to enroll in whichever option works best for you, because let's face it, we need options in terms of how we want to be supported. And if you have more questions, I will also add a link in the show notes for you to reach out to me and schedule a call so we can talk about which option will best support you in doing exactly what it is you are here to do. So how do you find, because I know there's like the technical pieces, but how do you find space for your creativity, either within your own podcast or even how maybe you work with your clients?
Yeah. So with my own podcast, it's really easy because I get to come up with the topics. I get to come up with the discussion.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's really creative for me. I love doing that. I love making TikToks and reels. I have to get better at making reels, but TikTok, I'm on there. So that's really where my creativity is out there. I
Yeah.
really like doing that. With some of my clients, like I love that some of them give me the freedom. Like you said, this episode's really long. Could you maybe just shorten it up just a little bit, And I find that creative. Like, I'm like, okay, where can I take out? Like, what are we talking about? Where's a good spot? How can I mesh these pieces together? Putting ads in the middle. I'm always like, where can we stop it? I find that fun. Like, I'm always like, I feel like I'm on the hunt for like the perfect spot for things.
I love that though. I love that. And first of all, I would probably be too wrapped up in perfectionism and overwhelmed with trying to manage that. And to hear that you can just say, hey, that is a creative, fun sort of outlet of where can I shorten it? Yeah, because there's a few podcasts where we just talk about so much that, I've said like, okay, we can probably shorten this one or take out the parts that aren't as impactful to the listener and that would support them in feeling empowered, or to take a step and for you to be able to do that. Or when I listened back to the podcast, which on the side note to anyone listening, it took me a while to finally listen to the podcast. And I usually listen to it after it's aired and a little while after, just because I'm a weirdo, I guess. I've gotten used to hearing my own voice, but it's hard to listen and be a listener of the podcast versus listening and thinking, oh, I said like way too many times, or I did this way too many times, instead of just enjoying the podcast and listening to learn myself, because I'm in interviewer mode when I'm talking to the person, I'm engaged with that person, but to actually be able to then come back and listen and learn because my guests have beautiful things to say. So for you to know when and listen and see like, oh, this is a great place to put in the ad, or this is a great place to, do whatever the transition is going to be. Like, I wouldn't be able to do that the way that you do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Having that outside perspective. Because we are super critical of ourselves. Mm-hmm. Really critical. Yeah. And it did take me a while to even listen to my own voice back when I record. Because you're always like, I sound like that. Like, really?
Yeah. Isn't it so wild? I remember being a kid and hearing my voice for the first time on a tape, and even as an adult hearing myself and hating it because I feel like my voice is pushy, like air pushy, so weird. And I have to say, as much as social media drives me crazy, it has helped me overcome hearing my voice and just accepting my voice and my look, whatever that is, as it is. And, I stopped doing filters and it's me, it's definitely, I think a good part. Sometimes I feel like there's not a lot that's good about social media, but that's a good part about social media, which is if you can get comfortable, you can accept yourself in seeing yourself.
Yeah. And that's what people are attracted to. I want to see somebody real. Like that's who I connect with. I don't want to see the filters. I don't want to see your fake clean house, like I just want to see you just be yourself. So you know what? You have messy hair. You just woke up. I don't care. Like if you have something to say it.
Yeah. You're not going to see me with messy hair because my messy hair, it's wild. You see how curly my hair is. It's pretty wild. And I like totally cave at night, put the blankets over my head. So it's pretty wild. So now let's talk about intuition. How do you feel like your intuition supports you in your work?
So this is something I have been struggling with because as a generator, yes or no, you feel it right there in your sacral area. And I have, I've taken on clients where I knew it was a no, but, I did it anyways, because I'm also a people pleaser. So, and then, you get to working with them and you're like, I knew this wasn't a good fit, and then you have to have that awkward conversation. But I know it always works out for the best. So now, especially with my health issues last week, it's now, I am listening to that. Like, if this is not 100% yes in my gut, it is a no. Like, if there's even one question that pops up, it is a no, because I have to respect my energy, because
Yes.
also as a generator, working with people who suck your energy is not how, yeah.
No, no.
No. So yeah, like I said, allowing me to have the creative ability to like put the ad where I need, take out what I need to, like working with some people who don't allow me to have that, who are very regiment on that, I realized doesn't flow well with me. Like
Yeah,
I need
no,
some creative ability, and being micromanaged, I can't.
no, no. You know, I trust you. Here it is. Do it. I might have like a couple of questions or
Mhm.
something, but usually it's like, oh, wait, I should change the ad because something's, I got my season 2 download or season 3 download, or I might have a question of, oh, should I change this because I need to have variety? But
Mhm.
I trust you to do what you need to do.
And that's why I love you. Yes. And I know it takes a while to build that trust, especially if you are hiring somebody to do a job. Like you want to make sure your money is going to good use. And I
Yeah.
completely understand that. And so I really work hard at the beginning of building that trust, building that relationship that, you can trust me with this. I will take care of it,
I
So
think I
yeah, I
trusted
do
you from
understand that.
day one.
You were like, okay, let's just.
And I asked you the questions to trust you because I think it was, going back to listening to my intuition and trusting my intuition on working with you, first of all. And then, we had the meeting, you gave me so much great information. And I also have to decide what is actually important for me to control. It's not important for me to control that. The part that's important for me to control is ensuring that I'm sharing the message, and then allow the person who can put the message and craft it in a pretty package to then be shared out in the world. I am in a benefit of allowing someone else who is gifted in what they're gifted in to do that, so I can have the
Mhm.
space. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I want to give you, is that space for you to create, for you to be creative, be in your zone of genius, do what you do magically, and then hand it over. And then you don't
Yeah.
have to think about all that other stuff that you don't want to think about.
Exactly. And I know I've sent you things and like, oh, I'll record something and maybe have to record a couple versions of it. And I'll just send it to Jillian and be like, I don't know, I recorded 2 versions of like an outro, for example, the exit to the podcast
Mhm.
or the ad or a new intro to the podcast. And I just send it to you and just say, I recorded 2. I don't know which one's better. You can pick which one's better or take from both of them, because I can't worry about that.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Yep. And I've
Yeah.
done that. I've taken from both, because you'll be like high energy, and then I'll be like, oh, but this part, I think the other part was better. Wish she had more energy there.
Yeah. And I have to trust you because I have recorded, oh my gosh, I have recorded an ad literally like 3 or 4 times or more. And it's like, screw it. Take the best of the whatevers, put it together, do whatever. I trust you. Oh my gosh. It's so funny. So when we talk about even, I know that you said that COVID happened, you became someone's VA, you became super passionate around doing the podcasting and podcast producing. For you to take the leap, what did you have to sort of overcome, or did you have any fears that you had to overcome to say, I'm doing this 100%, I'm making this my business?
Ooh, yes. It's very scary, because the online world was kind of new to me. So I did a lot of Googling. And I think the biggest thing that was a struggle for me was leaving my husband with our business that we had kind of created together. And, being like, hey, I'm kind of out. This is actually working pretty well for me. Having that conversation with him, I felt was really tough. I mean, he's so supportive, and he was glad I found something to do during the pandemic. But we were kind of in this together. And so, I mean, I still help him. I'm not like leaving him completely
No,
alone, but
no. Yeah.
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 So having that conversation with him, and then just, I think, trying to believe in myself that I could actually do this, like you hear about all these people trying to start online businesses, and then things happen and it doesn't work out. And, so just trying to give my all to it so that I could make it work. I was kind of determined to make it work.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's scary. I don't even know all the fears I was feeling at that time, because we were in such a different world. I feel like back then,
Yes.
during
Yes.
quarantine, like it was kind of at that moment, it was just like, I have to do something. Like it was more of a survival. Like
Right.
when I first started, it was like, I have to make some money because I need to feed these kids. Yeah. So, and then just when we started to open back up, being like, oh, I think I could do this, because it was a few months later, just kind of talking myself up. There were a lot of pep talks in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is going to be okay. We can do this.
And how did you find those first few clients? I'm super curious, because you were supporting that other person. You were in that sort of state of like, I have to do this, but also had that fear. How was it in terms of finding people? Do you even remember?
Built relationships on Instagram. I would just comment on their things. We kind of have, talks back and forth in the DMs. And when I started posting about, I was doing some podcast management for my client, one of them reached out. She's like, I've been wanting to start a podcast.
That's so amazing.
I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's try it. And then they would refer me to other people saying, oh, she does this. It's just actually talking about it. You have to actually tell people what you do.
Yes.
Else
yes.
they can't
yes.
refer you,
Yeah.
So you
yeah.
have to talk to them and tell them what they do. So just getting on my stories. And were Reels a thing back then? I don't remember. But
everything's always changing with that stupid platform.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. So just talking about it and letting people know, hey, putting myself out there. It was, it's hard to put yourself on camera and to tell it, but you got to do it. Like that's the only way to get people into your world, is to tell them exactly what you do, how you can help them.
Yeah, it's so true. It is so, so true. I love that. And here's a question for you. And you sort of touched on it a little bit in terms of following your gut, but even beyond sort of even work and your business, how do you know when you're out of alignment? And then how do you know when you're in alignment?
Ooh, I am out of alignment. I do happen to get sick a lot. Like I have allergies, which are under control usually until like I get stressed. As I said, my legs started acting up. Stress causes sickness in my body. And I know that I'm not doing something right, because I will get a cold, get allergy attack, have my legs start hurting, things like that. So I feel it in my body. A lot of misalignment comes in my body, headaches, like my body will start. I feel like it's shutting down, like it's telling me, okay, we can't do this anymore. And if you're not going to rest, if you're not going to stop the stress cycle, we're going to do it for you. And we're going to put you in bed. So when I start feeling that, I'm like, okay, which I need to stop letting it get to that point, because that's really bad.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Because I would just keep going and going and going until it gets to that point. So now with me going, my health has to be number one now. Like I need to do my health first, and then the rest can come after that.
Right. Yeah, it's so true, because especially when it shows up in your body, it is your vehicle. It is your vessel. Someone said this, probably, I feel like one of my mentors said something like this around, your body is what holds your soul and carries your soul, and the way to be able to continue to do what you do and to live your passions, to live your purpose, is to keep your vessel, whatever that looks like, for you. So having that commitment to yourself to hear your body before it gets to like shut down is really important.
Yes.
Really important. John and I just were watching this show on, I don't even know what channel it's on. It might be HBO. I don't know. But it's like a surfing documentary, and it's following the top world surfers for women and men. And was the first episode, this one girl who's really, she's a woman, but is a really amazing surfer. She was like kicking butt, winning things. And I think I don't remember what year it was, but she basically got so sick when they brought her to the hospital. She had pneumonia, bronchitis, and the flu. And they had to keep her on like fluids. She couldn't get out of bed. It took her 2 years to rehabilitate, to be able to start surfing again. And you want to talk about like not listening to your body when you're overworked and overstressed. You don't ever want to get to that point of shutdown for your body, because the recovery, or maybe not being able to recover, is so great. And again, it's that your ability to actually do what you're here to do.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Creating those boundaries again for myself and taking that time for myself, saying this is important, and then all the rest can come after.
Yeah. Boundaries are sexy.
Yes. Yes.
I think for women, we feel guilty about creating boundaries because we feel like we're being selfish. In reality, they help us create more spaciousness for ourselves so that we can actually give to others.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So what advice would you have for someone else who is hearing the podcast, hearing us talk, hearing how, yes, it did require a like drastic situation to help you even see what you are passionate about and what you're so good at. But what would you say to somebody else who is considering or thinking about following their passions?
Yeah. Get curious, start diving more into it, learn what you can about it. I love to learn, so I always say that, but I just get more curious about things. The more we learn, the more we can put our message out there, So if you're really passionate about something, just start doing it, even if it's not for money, even if it's small, even if you start really, really tiny, and it's just like one small thing a day that brings you joy, do it, Life's too short. I think that we hold back way too much, and we only get this one life. And you know what? We need to be happy in it. And I spent many years not happy, not doing what I loved. And I can't believe, looking back now, I'm like, oh my gosh, I wasted so much time being miserable. And you know what? I'm just not anymore. Even if you do one thing a day that brings you joy, that involves what you're passionate about, do it, no matter how small.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And adding to this reflection, though, that while you hated it, maybe, because I like to put this out there because I know how it can feel very daunting or scary. And that reflection is, it may have felt like a waste, but it gave you something, and it's helping you now, so like, what's the lesson from it? And then, obviously, and I understand the wasted part too, right? Because you could have been doing this so much sooner, but.
Yeah. But looking back to where I was back then, I wasn't in the right place to start doing it sooner. Like the circumstances weren't there. Even when I was thinking of quitting and going into my husband's coffee shop, I took like weeks, like doing the budgets and making sure everything was in line, and I could actually do it. So yeah, even back then, it just wasn't the time. And I'm thankful for all that did teach me. And, all that administrative work led to helping me get the VA job and stuff.
Yeah.
So there are good things, even though at the time I did not see them.
Oh, no, because it sounds like it was in line with my soul sucking job that I had. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Basically.
And years of soul suck is not good for anyone. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's not. But there's a lesson there looking back. So I guess I would say if you're in the middle of it, keep pushing, keep getting through. There is a lesson. There is a reason for it.
And there's a way out.
There is. Yes. There is a way out. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Because when you're deep in it, sometimes you don't know if you're ever going to get out of it, but you will.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never thought I would. Yeah. I thought I was there the rest of my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's funny how we're like laughing about it now.
Yeah. It wasn't funny back then.
No, it wasn't.
No.
It was not funny. It was literally a little hellish, a lot of hellish.
Yes. Yes. I would sit in my car before I went in, giving myself a pep talk to get myself out of my car into the building.
Right. Right. Yes. 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 Let's not get to that place, anyone. If you are there, this is even more of an invitation to explore your passions and how you can bring them more into your life, for sure. Yes. Oh my gosh. So good. So, Jillian, how can people find you? How can people work with you?
I am on Instagram at Jillian Grover Podcast Solutions. I'm also on TikTok at the Podcast Solution. My website is jilliangrover.com. I love connecting with people, so DM me or get on my website and connect with me. And I will make sure all those are in the show notes.
Oh, yes. I know you will. I was like, I don't even have to say it's going to be in the show notes. It's going to be in the show notes.
Yes.
I love it. I love it.
Any questions? I'm always happy to answer questions. Like, I'm not one of those people, if you ask me a question, like, you have to buy my course to get the answer. No, ask me a question.
Yeah.
I'm willing to help.
And don't you have a course coming out?
I do. Yeah. Yeah. It's called the Podcast Launch Solution. And it's actually, if you want to start your own podcast, but right now, a podcast manager is not in your budget. I walk you through every step of starting your podcast, everything. We go over everything. So
that's amazing. That's amazing. So if you are listening to this, you think you want to start a podcast, you are like me, not super tech savvy, and you're not passionate about producing your own podcast and you want support, definitely reach out to Jillian. Again, she's amazing. She's kind and like wise and gentle, and anything you ask won't feel silly. If you can't do that, definitely take her course and she will get you set up and started to move forward.
Yes. Thank
awesome.
you.
It's so cool. It's so cool. Yeah, I'm going to pump you up. Hello. You're my podcast producer. Okay. Awesome. Thank you again for being here. I just adore you so much and appreciate you so much. And for everyone else, if you're listening, until next time, I shouldn't say if you're listening, you better be listening.
They hear you. They are.
Exactly. Until next time, we'll talk soon. Thanks so much for listening to the Life Activated podcast. If this message from today's episode resonated with you, if it inspired you to start to live your passions, to take action in your life, then do me a favor and rate and review us, because honestly, that is the only way that this podcast will be found by others just like you. If you don't want to miss the podcast, don't forget to subscribe. Subscribing to the podcast ensures that you never miss an episode. All right. Thanks so much for supporting the Life Activated podcast. Until next time.